Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. The layout I'm sharing with you today was created for the August cyber crop over at Mystical Scrapbooks, and I will put a link to that challenge in the description box below. The challenge is to use this sketch, and the featured product for the month is chipboard. So this is my layout, and you can see that it follows the sketch fairly closely. I've done a bit of work in the background, so to start with I'm going to use this Deco Foil transfer gel and this Dusty Attic stencil called Criss, and I'm going to apply that gel through the stencil just randomly on the background sheet. The background is just a piece of white cardstock. Once I've got that applied where I want it, I'm going to set that aside to dry. I'm going to use the Couture Creations Peaceful Peonies papers. I'm going to use pattern number 1 and pattern number 10. Pattern number 1 is the pink spot and pattern number 10 is the floral. I'm also going to use some black cardstock, and the photo is trimmed down to a 4x4 photo. So now I'm going to cut my pattern paper for the strip that goes down the edge of the background. I cut the pink spot, which is pattern paper number 1, so it's 3/4 of an inch by 12 inch. I cut 2 strips of that, and then I cut the pattern paper number 10, which is the floral. I cut that 3 inches by 12 inches. I also cut 2 pieces of black cardstock that were 1/2 an inch by 12 inches. I assembled the 2 strips of pink and black cardstock by running a little bead of glue along one edge of the black and then laying the pink spot on top of that, so I've got about 1/8 of an inch of the black showing. I inked the edges of the pink paper with the black ink cube before I attached it to the black. I did the same thing with the 3-inch strip of pattern paper, so I inked around the edge of that and then attached a 1/2 inch strip of the black cardstock to each long edge of that. Once again, just having about 1/8 of an inch of the black showing. Time now to attach the 2 pink and black strips to the 3-inch strip. I've got about 1/4 of an inch of the pink showing down each edge of the central strip. Now my Decor Foil Transfer Gel is dry, and I'm going to use this Fab Foil in Gold to apply some foil to that gel. I thought it was dry enough, and I was in a bit of a hurry, so it wasn't quite as dry as it should have been probably, but I just used my brayer and rolled over the foil, and you can see that it comes off beautifully. It could have been a little bit drier. I think I might have actually flattened some of the gel, spread it out a little bit, but anyway, it's what it is, and I'm quite happy with it. I really enjoy using foils with this gel. It's so easy, no messing around, no fussing. You can put the gel on where you like, whenever you like, however you like, and the foil sticks to it beautifully every time. Now I'm going to trim this piece of cardstock down to 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches, and I'm going to mat that onto a piece of black cardstock that I have cut the middle out of. So I've got a 1-inch frame that I'm going to attach that piece of white background cardstock to. I will use my black ink cube to ink around the edge of my white cardstock, and then use double-sided tape to attach that to the black frame. I'm going to now do a bit more work on my background. I'm going to use that same stencil, which is the Dusty Attic Criss stencil, and my Victorian Velvet Distress inks, along with my blending brush, and I'm going to just apply some of that ink through that stencil into the background area in random places. I use different powers of pressure, I guess you'd say, different pressure to get more variation in colour. So each of those crosses that are created through the stencil are not all the same colour. They vary in colour for a bit of interest. Now I'm going to use my art glitter glue to attach that long panel to the left hand edge of my layout. I'm going to allow about half an inch of the white to show out on the edge. Time now to map my photo. As I said, my photo is trimmed down to 4 inches by 4 inches, so I'm going to use the same peg pattern that I used on the long panel. So that's pattern number 1. I'm going to cut that to 4 1/4 inches square. Then I'm going to cut a piece of black cardstock 4 1/2 inches square and layer those on top of each other so that I've got a double map on my photo. I'll also file around the edge of my photo so that I get a nice white border, so that when I attach them all together the photo stands out nicely. Now for the chipboard component. The chipboard I'm using is Memory Maze Happiness Heart chipboard pack. So it comes with all of these pieces you can see here, including the title. I'm giving everything a coat of white acrylic paint. That way I know that when I apply some colour to it, it will probably be more true to colour than trying to put it over the craft colour that the chipboard is naturally. I give it a fairly smooth, even coat, trying to get as much coverage as I can, and I set that aside to dry. Now that my chipboard's dry, I use my same blending brush and the same paint, ink, Victorian Velvet, and I just go over the chipboard to give it some colour. When I'd finished that and laid it on my layout, it looked too pale to me. I mean, it blended in, but I wanted something that stood out a little more. I chose to use some of the Distress ink in Picked Raspberry, and I'm just going to use the same brush and just apply a bit of the darker pink to the edges of my chipboard so that it just gives it a bit of dimension and a bit of extra colour. I'm going to do this to all of the pieces. I'm much happier with the way that looks on the layout now. I'm going to go ahead now and use my art glitter glue to attach all of my pieces of chipboard to my layout. I also attach my photo to the layout using the glue. I've attached a couple of layers of scrap chipboard to the back of the photo so that it sits straight when it's sort of half sitting on top of that chipboard and half not. So I've evened it up with some scrap chipboard. For a finishing touch, I'm going to add some sequins. These are 28 Lilac Lane sequins and the colour is Velvet. I'm just going to use my pickup stick and my glue to position those, to attach those sequins to the page. I've just sort of sprinkled them around, no real rhyme or reason. I really like the extra colour that the sequins give me. They're just a little pop of colour without being overpowering. I love the look of sequins on layouts and I always forget to use them, but today I remembered, so pretty happy about that. So there we have my layout for today. Don't forget to go over to Mystical Scrapbooks and check out the August cyber crop. It goes for the whole weekend and you have a week to upload your photo of your layout. There are prizes to be won, so don't dilly-dally. Also, if you're not already a subscriber to my channel, I would love it if you would click that subscribe button. And thank you for being here, and I hope you can join me for my next video.